Hello everyone, welcome to BISP Solutions. I'm Tanvi Arora and I'm working here as a functional consultant. So in today's video, we are going to see the supplemental data process. Basically, it is the financial cloud close process. Okay. So what is supplemental data process? Supplemental data process is a robust ad hoc data collection process which helps us to collect data supporting our financial numbers. It is useful in capturing the footnotes, disclosures, and supporting details. The admin needs to enable this supplemental data feature while creation of the application only. Okay, so this is the additional data that is required that client gives us to put in the application, and it supports our financial numbers. So we have certain steps in this, which steps are involved in the supplemental data process. So first of all, admin enables the supplemental data feature while creating the application. Then the power user performs these processes. Basically, first process is to create the dimension. Okay, so creates additional dimensions. Now already FCC application provides a few dimensions, that is product, entity, okay, and various dimensions are there. So these are the additional dimensions that we can create in our application. Okay. Then we create collection intervals, okay, to define the frequency of the data collection process and like how frequently you want to collect the data, and the workflow dimensions on which their forms will be based basically. Then we create collections and sub-collections to store the data as part of the data collection process. There should be something to store that data. So we create the collections for that, and sub-collections can also be created. Then we create attributes and calculated attributes and validation rules for these attributes. So basically attributes are the headings or the fields that we define in our collection forms. Okay. Then we create data form templates to ensure a consistent and repeatable data collection process is going on. So for that, we create a data form template. And then we assign workflow and access to each data form template. So basically in this data form template, the workflow process is defined, like who is going to be the preparer of that form, and who will actually prepare that, and then who will be the approver, who is going to approve that data process once the preparer inputs the data in that. And then there is one integrator who will actually post the data. Okay, so this workflow process we define in this, and we give access to the users. And then this form that we created is deployed to a collection interval. Okay, finally it is deployed, and then this user process happens, like the posting, submitting, and approving the data. So admin, before that, we need to open this period. If the period is not open, then you cannot proceed with it. Okay. So if the period is not open, then the form instances are in pending status. If the period gets open, then the form instance is active and available for data entry. So the admin opens the period to start data collection process. Then the user loads the data manually once the period is open. So this data is loaded manually or either through CSV files. Then user can also act on any actions to be done, for example, entering comments or answering the questions. Then the user performs validation. So validation is performed basically, and once everything is validated, the user submits the data for approval, and then the approver reviews and maybe approve or reject it. And if he rejects it, it again goes back to the preparer, and then he view the summarized data, and then finally admin closes or locks the period. So let's just go to our application to see these steps, how these steps are performed. Okay. So from application, this is the home page of my application. From application, I will go to supplemental data. And the first tab in the left sidebar is the dimensions tab. Now you can see that these are the already created dimensions, that is from scenario, to product, these are already created. We have these dimensions in the FCC. But the additional dimensions that we add are like it is added already: Moody's rating, SP ratings, PNL accounts, ledger, balance sheet. Okay, so these are the additional dimensions that we can add here. So basically, this supplemental data manager leverages the dimensions defined within the business process. We can add additional dimensions that are required to gather all the attributes in the data collection. Okay, so these are the dimensions that are added. Then the second tab is the collection interval tab. So collection intervals allows to customize the data collection by tailoring the POV to specific business needs. It includes the following dimension types. So these are the already created collection interval. We can open this default one, and I will use this default collection interval only in the further process. So as you can see that it includes the following dimension types. One is frequency dimension and one is workflow dimension. So what is frequency dimension? It defines the frequency of the data collection process, how frequently the data will be collected. And workflow dimension defines the number of workflow instances for data collection. Okay, so by default, collection interval is included as part of the application only. Like this is the default collection interval, and by default frequency, in the frequency dimension, year, period, and scenario are the default one, and in the workflow dimension, entity is the default one. Okay, here. Then we may configure maximum four dimensions in the frequency dimension and 5 in the workflow dimensions. Okay, including year and period also. So these are the maximum limit. Then the next tab is the data collection periods. So after we define a collection interval for the data collection process, we configure the data collection periods. Now the form templates are deployed for a data collection period only. Okay, the data collection period is configured by selecting members of the frequency dimension. So basically, you see that the default category which we selected, which was already created in the collection interval, will be reflected here in the collection interval. We can choose from here. Okay, so 2 are created and we are going to choose default only, in which we had seen those POVs, the workflow dimension and the other frequency dimension. Then year we can select from here. So I will take 2022. Okay, and we can see the periods that are created, and scenario we will take actual. So this is our POV that we define. Then year and period frequency dimensions are available by default. Different collection periods can exist across collection intervals. Now, data collection period must have start date, end date, and closing date. So if you see that it has start date, end date, and close date. So before deploying a form, I will explain what is a data collection form. So it is here, form templates we create, and then we deploy that template into this data collection period. So for that, period, the admin should open the period. So as you can see, the status of the period is showing open here. Okay, and these are in pending status. So we can just define we can just take, suppose this is June period, this is open. Okay, we can take April period. So we can define our start date, end date, and close date. Accordingly, the workflow process will start. Whatever date you take, either it will start offset days from the end date or close date. So first, this is April. So we'll take April period. Okay, first April. Here we are taking as 2022. Close date and end date can be same. It can be different also. It can be in the next month of 5th of next month to 2nd of any date. Okay, but accordingly the date that is provided, the workflow work process will start. So I'm just taking similar only, close date as 30th only. So you can see that I have defined all the dates. Now I have to change the status of this period. First of all, I have to save this. After saving this, this option will get enabled to open this period. Now I can input my data in this period finally. Okay. So this was the data collection period tab. So the next step is this collection tab. Now, collection contains data table, definition, or data sets. Okay, collection consists of the attributes of information of any data records. Basically, it is a set of information of any data record. Collections can contain attributes from the dimensions, and you can enter the new attributes value as well. So from here, these are the already created collections. As you can see that investment details, investment questionnaire, then debt details. So everything, these are the already created ones. Okay. And these are using the collection interval as default only that we used also. Okay. In our data collection period. Now we can create a new one from here. So you have to click on add. This is the property tab. You can just give a name to your collection basically. So I'm just providing a name, that is salary details. Then description is optional. If you want, you can just provide it. Now this is the sub collection tab. So you specify whether this collection is a sub collection or not, but we are creating the main parent collection. So I'm not choosing it as of now as a sub collection, but we can create a sub collection under the main parent collection. Then you can create a sub collection only after creating a collection. So once this collection is created, then only a sub connection for this will be created. Okay. Specify collection interval from the drop down menu. So basically we have chosen default. We are going to choose collection interval as default only. Then if there are any sub associated sub collections, it will be shown here. But as of now, there are no associated sub collections with this data collection. So it is not showing. Then if you choose by default, this is yes, share data records among templates or forms. So if this is yes, then the data will be shared among the like whatever attributes you will create here, the data, all that data will be shared in the templates and forms, okay, which you will create in the later stage. So by choosing this option, the attributes will automatically be copied there. Then the next tab is the attributes tab. So you define actually the attributes here. So on the attributes tab, you add attributes for the collection. Now attributes are user defined fields defined centrally by the administrator and used in many places, including the collections. So you can specify different value types like date, time, list, number, text, true, false, yes, no, everything like that. Now this is the basically name. And this is the default one. This is the default one, and it is the key identifier by default. Okay. And we can assign workflow from here, but this field is non-editable. So we can define an attribute name, and whether it is a key identifier or not. So one or more attributes can together form a key identifier. And we can even create calculated attributes, which cannot be key identifier anytime. Okay, so this is the main thing, that calculated attributes cannot be the key identifier. Then we can assign workflow field. It will display the workflow defined in the collection interval, and it is not editable. And there is a total field option, which enables you to define the totaling method for the attribute. Okay, and see, if you click on add, so there are two options. You can add attributes according to your customization, or if you choose this option, add attribute from dimension. So whatever attributes are there in the dimensions, like the name of the dimensions, the product, entity, whatever dimensions are there, Moody rating, SP rating, all will be seen here if you choose this option. Okay, but I will create my own new attributes. So I will click on add, and then I'll just provide few of the attributes here. So the first one will be my employee ID. Okay. Description is optional. Now I can create calculated one, but this cannot be the key identifier then. I'm choosing input here. Okay, and then data type I'm keeping as text only. Okay, and if I'm making it as I can choose it as required field or use value. Okay, so I'm just not going to tick anywhere. I'll just click on OK. Now this is the attribute that I've created. Then I will again create one attribute. Employee name. Again, I will keep it as text only. Employee designation. We can create employee grade as well. So let it be in text form only. Now type, we can create employee type. By type, I mean whether that it is on contract, he's on contract basis or on temporary basis. Okay. So we can create another attribute as employee type. Here we can create a list, okay, whether he's permanent or on contract basis or temporary basis. So we can just select a list type here, and then we can just write the values. Okay, we can add. So in the list, we can write as permanent, and then we can create another one on contract basis or temporary. And then we can just save this one. Okay, so I'm not creating any calculated attribute as of now, but we have option to create if we want to provide any if and else conditions for that. Then we can just create one or more attributes like allowances or the perks that are given to employees. Okay. So we can choose the allowances as number. And then we can choose the currency in which we will pay them. Okay. Then we can create date as well, date of joining. So here we will select as date. And lastly, we can create performance bonus. Okay, and we can choose as amount. So after creating these attributes, we just need to close this. Okay. And from this history tab, you can see if any changes or anything modifications are there, we can just track it from the audit trail point of view. Then we just need to save and close this. Okay, so it's showing an error that at least it should have one key attribute. Okay, so this is by default. Let's make anything as key, that is maybe employee name. Okay, so this will be our key identifier, and let's just save and close it. So once this process is done, the next step is to create a form template. Now, these form templates are basically in this data is collected using these forms that are created based on the form templates. Okay, so a form template is organized in sections. So when creating a form template, use the section tab to design the form template in sections. And what are sections? Sections make up the form definition or layout. So let's just create a new form. These are the already created forms. You can see that debt form, headcount, investment form. So we are going to create a new form. Okay, that will be called as salary info form. Then again, description is optional here. Okay. So we have so many parts in this form, and now we have to choose this collection interval. So as you know, I've already selected a default earlier as my collection interval. So I'm going to select this. Okay. Now this collection interval will determine the collections available while defining the form template section, as we have already selected the default one. Now the next tab is the instructions tab. So basically we can provide any kind of instructions to the preparers. Okay. So I'll just write in this. So any random instruction I provided here. Okay. So after defining this instruction part, we can just go and we can attach any reference here. Okay. But as of now, I'm not doing that. The next tab is the sections tab. Now it defines the form template sections. Each section of a form can collect data from different collections or attribute combinations. Sections can have overlapping collections or attributes. And maximum 5 sections can be defined in a form template. Okay. So I'm just writing the similar name. Then you have to choose your collection, basically whatever collection you created. So my collection name was salary details, and there was no sub collection. Okay. And now this is row and data column. So by default, this is selected as rows. If you select this rows, so attributes of the form will be displayed as a table, and you can make entries in the row. Okay, and the system always displays the attribute name as a header. And if you select this column option, so for collections, the attributes of the form in this case are displayed in the row and columns where the users enters value for each attribute of the form. Now the fields include one data entry form per attribute, and the system displays the attribute description as the row header of the form. Okay, so as of now I've selected this row only. Okay, now we will go to this columns tab. So we can specify, as you see that these are the attributes that I created in my collection. So it has an option of uh, putting these columns or displaying these columns in the form. So I ticked on that. That's why my all the attributes are showing in this form as well. Okay, so basically we can specify the number of columns in the layout and how they are displayed. So maximum 3-column layout we can select, and we can click on included button for the attributes to be included in the form. Okay, so see what are included and what are not. Okay, so we can just select from here, and this is the name of the collection attribute. Okay, now these are the data type that we have already defined. So I'm just clicking on these 2-3 attributes. Okay, now I will just like I have provided for this column things. Now under this group by option, I will see how it will be grouped. Okay, so I will click on employee ID as group by, and I will make this employee type as my no, it is not getting selected. Allowance as perks as my included one in here. Okay. So basically, group by, this option is used to summarize the line item details like a pivot table. Okay. Now, if I go to this mapping tab, it defines specific location within business process application where the summarized data should be posted. Okay. So as you can see, I've already provided for my columns and it is displaying like that only. Included one is allowance perks, and this is employee ID and employee name. Okay. So I'll just click on OK after this, and save and close this form template. Okay. So the rest things I will define it again in it. Let me open it again. This is my salary info form. So we have defined the sections. Now we will go to the workflow tab. So this workflow tab is used to schedule timelines and the common workflow for all the collection forms. The integrator is the person or is the user who will post the data from supplemental data to your business application. Additionally, we can define a common set of instructions here. Okay, we can provide any instructions to the preparers, and this person, so the workflow process like goes like one person, or we can define any number of persons who will be the preparer of this data form, and who will approve this, and who will be the integrator. Okay, so basically under like this, we specify, we will click on the workflow tab to assign the workflow for the form under when to start section. Okay, so basically, first of all, we'll define our frequency. So this frequency should be same as we have chosen in the collection interval period. Okay, so it was FCCS periodic. And now under this option, if we are choosing end date or close date, accordingly, it will start working. The process, the preparer will start its work. So if I'm choosing close date, because I have provided as end date and close date as same, so I'll just choose close date, and offset days I'm providing 2. Okay. So after like offset days are after the close date, after 2 days, it will start the work. Now, this is the hierarchy, what I'm going to use. So in the workflow option, I'm just going to use as prepare, approve, post. Okay, so these 3 hierarchies can be chosen. And if I'm making any person as integrator, then I will choose this post option. But I am only using like preparing, preparer and approver. So I'll just choose this hierarchy, and level of approver, I want 1, only 1. Okay. Then approver view access, only workflow. Okay. Then duration. So duration, how many days duration for preparation? So I'm just choosing 1 preparer and 1 approver, and integration option gets disabled because I haven't chosen the posted option here. Now I will click on add. and choose my basically the persons who will be my preparer. So first of all, I have to select my entity. Okay. So I will select C100 and then I will just click on OK. So as I've selected my entity, now who will be the preparer? I've already created and have provided access to Frank Taylor as the preparer. So basically Frank Taylor, I have provided access of user. Okay. And for approver, I have given access to Amy Marlin and he's the power user. So once this process is done, and after this, we can just save this particular tab, and then we'll go to questions. If we want them to answer some questions before submitting or approving, so we can add questions from here. So let's just ask any type of question, any random question I'm providing. Let me change it. Okay. Then I can just provide any data type here. Yes or no. I'm just providing yes or no. Okay. And I'm making it as a required field. So before submitting it, he has to compulsorily answer this question. Okay. Role I'm giving this to preparer. So I can just write all the compliances complied with or followed. Okay, so questions I've asked, and then this access is provided basically to the viewers. If I want any person to just be a viewer of my data form, so I can just provide any name here and workflow. Okay, but as of now, I'm not doing anything. So let me just save and close this. So after this form is created, now this form will be deployed to a period. Okay, so this is our form. Okay, this is a form. I'll just select this form. And from Actions tab, I'll click on Deploy. Now it is asking us to select a period to deploy a form. Okay, so default collection interval is default year. Our year is 2022. Scenario we have taken actual. Now only 3 periods are showing because only 3 periods are open. Okay, so if all the periods are open, data collection interval periods, then all the periods will be shown here. But as of now, I have opened April period. Like I've shown, I provided the end date, close date. So accordingly, the workflow process will also start. Okay, so I'm just choosing April here, and I'll just click on OK. So once this is done, okay, so I have already done this. Okay, and I'll again click on this form and I'll just deploy this form to the collection interval period. So after I clicked on the deploy, it is showing that create one and nothing got deleted here. I'll just click on OK. And this process is running. So it takes some times usually. So once this is done, so the form has been deployed. Now the actual work of the users will start. Okay. So let's just see. First of all, I can see my open task from here. Okay. Or I can just see the task from here also. So this is for supplemental data task. So when I selected my correct POV, that is year was 2022, period was April, scenario was actual. So my data, I can see this salary information form here, and which shows the status as open with preparer. Now I have to open as preparer and provide for the data or input the data, and then I will submit it for the further approval. Okay. So let's just open as Frank Taylor. I've already created that preparer. So I have opened as preparer, that is my Frank Taylor. Now I'll go to the task, and this is my correct period. As we can see that this form is deployed to this period. So now it is open with assignee. Okay. Here you can see that whatever things we have selected in the collection, or so it is showing here all the attributes: employee ID, name, designation, employee type. So for providing or inputting the data in this, we'll click on add. Okay. So it will allow us to just input the data. Okay, employee ID, I will just provide anything. Then employee name, employee designation, now I've chosen the list category, so it is showing me an option for the list. Similarly, I can add input other data as well for the other employees. Okay, and then after doing all this, I'll just submit this. Okay, so first of all, we have to save this. So I have filled one other information here, and I have saved this information, and we can. Okay, so we have put some required fields as questions. Okay, so let's just see. This is the workflow. See, preparer was Frank Taylor and approver is Amy Marlin. Okay, and here I have provided some required field like all the compliances followed. So I will just tick on yes, and then it will allow me to submit this form. So as you can see, this is completed. Okay, now the next step, in the next step, it will get open with the basically approver. Okay, so let's just open as approver and approve this. So I'll just select the correct period. My year was 2022. So this is my form. The information is here. I can just review and I can just approve it. Okay, I can also provide for any comments if I want to. I've just approved this. So this was the workflow process. And also, like, once the admin part is done, all the email notifications are sent automatically to these users. Okay, so I can access from the email notification, open the link from there, or I can just open as my ID and start preparing the task. So basically, email notifications are sent to the users who are actually assigned with these tasks. So this was the complete process of the supplemental data flow, how it is done. And this is the part of financial flows process. And thank you so much.